Now, let's think about your situation for a moment. After studying hard and completing your studies, it's time to find your first job as a graduate. And landing a job with the Big Four is a massive, massive achievement. So we're here to help you try and get there. In this session, we explain how international students can find a graduate job in Australia with one of the Big Four firms. And what we'd like to get advice on today is what opportunities are available, what employers are looking for in your graduates, and also what visas are available for graduates. So before we get started, I'd like to take a minute to introduce the fabulous guest speakers that we have coming along. First, we'd like to welcome Charlene Ellison. Charlene is a campus recruitment senior consultant at EY, Ernst & Young. Throughout her career, she has specialised in many areas, including international marketing, student recruitment, and corporate communications. And she's also worked in nearly every organisational setting. So from tertiary institutions to government to non-for-profit. So this gives her a really rich insight into several industries. So her advice is great for today. I'd also like to welcome Kiko Jin, Senior Education Counsellor and Branch Manager for AMIT Education in the Brisbane office. Now, Kiko began working at AMIT early 2016, and as an education counsellor, she later moved on to roles as team leader and branch manager. She has a communication with students and handling student cases from the very beginning as initial consultations and planning until the student has successfully enrolled in their desired program. So Kiko studied migration law and is currently preparing for her registration examination to deliver more services to students. And we also welcome her colleague, Ellie, who will be in the chat to answer your questions. So if you do have visa-specific questions, please also feel free to put them in the chat. We obviously are talking about employment opportunities, but visas are such a big part of that. So please bring out as many questions as you can. We'd love to answer them as much as we're able to. And last but not least, we also like to chat with Yisu. Earlier this week, we recorded a conversation with her as an international student who is now a digital identity analyst with PwC. Now, E moved to Australia from China to pursue a Bachelor of Commerce in IT at Monash University, graduating in July. At the same time, she landed a job with PwC as a digital identity analyst. Yi is passionate about everything technology, international student affairs, and women in leadership. So it will be great to hear her insights. And as well, thank you all for joining us today. We know that you probably could have been doing a lot of different things with your time, but you're choosing to spend it with us, and we thank you so much for that. Speaking of thanks, I would also like to thank our sponsors, PTE Academic. So for many international students, English language testing is one of the first steps in their study abroad experience. And with PTE Academic, that step is made a whole lot easier. By using powerful technology, PTE Academic has optimized language testing and ensured accurate results. Now, whether you're improving your skills for study, work, or migration, PTE Academic has you covered. And there is a special offer for you. So they're hosting a free webinar on the 10th of November, preparing your way to academic success. So click on the link that's popped up on your screen and receive 15% off all PTE preparation products. That's pretty good. So if you'd like to find out more about PTE, again, there's a link that's going to be put in the chat. We'd love to be able to share that with you. And finally, before we begin, throughout the webinar, again, as we mentioned, there's many opportunities for you to ask questions. Please use the Q&A feature, which also happens to have an upvote button there too. So if you do have a question that's already been asked previously, use the upvote button so we know that this is really interesting for you, and we'll be able to put those as a priority. There's also polls that will be asked, which really help us to give a lot more value to the webinars. So your participation engagement in that would be brilliant. So first and foremost, we'll talk to Charlene. Hey, Charlene.
Hi, Boris. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and welcome everyone joining us online today. It's lovely to be connected with you and for you to join us today.
Yeah, fantastic. So thank you so much for that. So just a bit of a recap for everyone. Charlene works at the Big Four, and you have quite a lot of different experience with the international education sector. So it's fantastic to have you along. So can you tell us a little bit more about who the Big Four are and your responsibilities in the role that you currently have. What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, sure. So the Big Four is a collective name that we use around the world for the top four and largest consulting and professional services firms in the world. So you may have heard of them before through different names or different annotations, but I represent and work for EY, or previously you might have known them as Ernst and Young. So that's just one of the big four professional services firms. The others are Deloitte, KPMG, and PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC. So what is professional services? It is a very large, I guess, service that we provide for businesses and for clients all around the world, where we essentially have um, our consultants, acting as professional problem solvers, as I like to call it. So from a wide range of, the traditional services that we provide, such as accounting and financial services, we also provide consulting services, a lot of things to do with technology, particularly, in the past decade or so, revolutionizing really creative solutions for our clients. So not just in the traditional terms such as tax and audit, which I think most of you have heard, what professional services actually do, but a really wide range of coming up with really creative solutions. So that's really a summary of the Big Four. And what was the other part of the question, Boris? Sorry.
Yeah, and your role within the Big Four, because as you just mentioned, it
Yep.
covers a lot of different bits and pieces, but what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, sure. So for EY, I am a senior campus recruitment consultant. So what I do at EY is I join my national team of campus recruiters, and we actually are tasked with recruiting students into our student programs. We recruit students into vacationer roles, in internships, in graduate roles. That's probably our main caveat, working in campus recruitment. And part of that is actually going out to meet students at university campuses through online and virtual events to really give them the information and the tools to succeed in securing a graduate or a vacationer or an internship role in one of in Ernst and Young, for example. And I have other colleagues around the other Big Four that do quite similar roles. So we work in the talent space. We have a lot of communications with students, both domestic and international. And yeah, we are always looking for really great talent to join EY, and that can hopefully come from more international students over the next campaigns that we run.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Data
Fantastic. And
and day to day, you were mentioning as well, asking Boris, that it really includes, like going to university campuses, providing information, presentations on EY, and why you should look at securing, a career or step forward into a Big Four firm as well. So lots of communication with students, lots of going through applications, screening out applications, working with our stakeholders to find, what exactly the talent is that they're looking for. So it's a role that wears many different hats, but definitely my favorite part is working with students and helping you guys, navigate that exciting step into your first, I guess, career into a Big Four.
brilliant. Awesome. So that sounds like an awesome job and a great opportunity to be able to get into it. So if we can just backtrack a little bit, can you tell us a little bit more about your educational background and how that prepared you for your current position?
Yeah, sure. So I actually studied a Bachelor of Mass Communications, and the reason why I did that was, as you can probably tell from the way I like to have a good yarn and have a good chat, is I do love to communicate with people. It's probably one of my favorite things of any job I've ever had. Is I love to connect with people. I love to provide information and help to people and support them in, achieving their goals, whether it be to study a program or to get a job somewhere, or to help solve a problem. So that's my personal background. As you can see, I haven't had that traditional Big Four experience to get this role, because this role involves, high level and many different facets of communication, which is what I'm good at. So that was my education background. And after graduating university, I studied here in Australia. I then went to work for a not-for-profit government organisation, and that was tasked with promoting the city of Perth as a study destination. And then I went to work for a university in working with international students and recruiting them to the university and providing them, that next exciting path of choosing a study destination in Australia, choosing the university. And then after 5 years there, I moved to EY. And I guess I've always worked with students and with stakeholders, whether they be government or non-government, and it's exciting because you get to work with a lot of different types of people, and the conversations change and makes every day quite exciting and quite new, which is something that I really look for in any kind of work I do. That every day is different, and this role I currently have in EY is certainly one of those roles that every day is different. So yeah, that's kind of where I've kind of had my career take me. Yeah, and I've at this, I guess I'm at the tail end of a student's journey where you are, looking to graduate soon, and you're looking for that next step into your professional career, wherever it may be, and it may be working for the Big Four.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's nice to hear that it's not necessarily a very traditional pathway that you've taken to get to where you are right now, which is fantastic to see that companies like EY and the Big Four do look at those transferable skills and your background and look at it favourably to be able to move in there. So thank you so much for being able to highlight that. So when it comes to what exists at the moment for students, so those that are watching right now, what kind of opportunities would you say are available for new graduates currently?
Yeah, so the Big Four, traditionally, it's always a mixed bag when it comes to whether eligibility is open for international students. Certainly, before I started working at EY, I know that there wasn't any opportunities currently in the Australian offices for international students. It was always focused mainly on um, international students seeking opportunities in a Big Four office in their hometown or home country, or somewhere that they're willing to move to once they finish up their studies in Australia. That has recently changed for EY. However, my biggest, I guess, tip is to always check. Before you submit an application, don't assume that just because one firm is accepting international applications that they all are. And again, don't assume that just because one application period, the firm was accepting international applications, that it will be the same for the next time they open applications. So for now, as of now, we do have applications open this week for our remainder graduate roles for the EY Australia offices for international students that are graduating and are based in Australia and have met our basic eligibility requirements, which you can see on the website. I'll ask Boris to maybe share that post webinar.
Definitely.
But we do have eligibility requirements for international students. It is very exciting, however, opening up to international students, because we do see fantastic potential, particularly those that are on or are about to embark on a post-study work visa, that you will be able to be eligible, to join our graduate programs. So I can only speak on behalf of EY. I'm not sure about the other firms, but currently EY does accept international students that are looking to get graduate roles. So not vacationer roles as of yet, but for now, graduate roles in specific areas, mainly in IT. And in accounting. So those two backgrounds we do accept. And the reason for this being is that these are two of our major growth areas, particularly for the Australia offices. And we are really looking for some really great talent to join these areas. So I won't go through all the eligibility, because you can look at that in your own time on our website. But our website has a very detailed explanation of what exactly we're looking for and if you meet our eligibility. And our applications are actually open this week. I think they close tomorrow. So if you are interested and you feel like this could be a good opportunity, you can hop on our EY Careers website and navigate to the student area, and you can see exactly what we're looking for. I guess in terms of the graduate programs, they are fantastic in a sense of they do have the opportunity for you to get that permanent full-time position here in EY for 18 months, and that's given to provide you with enough time for you to source permanent residency and seeing if you can meet all the points that is required. So that's what we offer right now, but we usually open our applications 2 to 3 times a year for students. That may change for the next campaign. So again, I always stress to students that don't assume that it's going to be the same for every time
Yeah.
applications open. Make sure you check all the time that you are actually eligible.
Great. And are these opportunities also available for virtual students? So we unfortunately still have a few students that are overseas currently. So is it open for them?
Yep. So you do have to be physically based in Australia for the current opportunities for graduate roles in Australia. Virtually something that we are still looking into and seeing if that we can be supported with, I guess, a global vision for EY and see how we take students into some of the programs. So while we work through that, we are currently only open to students that are currently based in Australia and have the capacity, to reside in Australia and are on the right visas and things like that. But it's still a work in progress of what we do to support virtual opportunities for our international students or those that can't be with us in Australia currently.
Brilliant. So I know that you mentioned previously that on your website you can go and have a look to see what EY is looking for, and I'm sure that other Big Four companies have something very similar. But from your experience, what are the type of skills that students should be working on to be able to maximize their employability potential with EY?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess there's two types of groups of skill sets, right? Like the first one is your technical skills, which is something that is, based on your degree and, what majors you've chosen and what units you've studying. That is something that is always going to be important. But what I always tell students is when you are looking for, technical skills, um, that we do accept lots of different degree backgrounds. So yes, for international, it is more specifically for accounting and IT, but once you're an accounting and IT student, you need to start thinking about how you're going to stand out, from other students that have the same background, because you have to remember that, you are in a university that has many different types of students and students that maybe have similar backgrounds to you. So soft skill sets are something that all students can work on no matter what degree background they're from or whether they're in their first or final year of university. And these things include, communication skills is probably the most important um, feature that we look for in students. EY and the other big four firms, ultimately you're a consultant and you're working for that firm to provide really great client service and solving any problems, issues, finding innovation for them. If you can't communicate your vision and your ideas, and you may have a really great technical background, it is going to be very difficult, to work with clients if you don't have those great communication skills. Building rapport with them, communicating, having excellent verbal, interpersonal, and written communication skills is probably one of the things that we look for the greatest. Also, teamwork. When you're a consultant, you're never going to be working on your own. For my colleagues that are consultants for all the different service lines within EY, for example, they often tell me that they work in anywhere from teams of 2 to 5, and that's just within EY, and that's before you go out to client sites, and clients, they have their own project teams as well. So you're always going to be working with people, so you're going to need to have the soft skills of really great teamwork and collaboration. You're going to need to be flexible, adaptable. This work from home hybrid is here to stay, so having that ability to still build really great connections with your clients and with your team members is going to be really important. So that flexibility comes into play as well. I also tell students that it is really important to have a global mindset. So when you work for a big four, you are working for a global firm. So that means that you're going to have to be keeping up to date and have a real interest of what's happening around the world around you. The reason being for is because your clients are expecting you and your teams are expecting you to create really innovative solutions and do the work with with the lens of what's going on around you with market trends and what's happening in the news. So if you aren't already and you're trying to pursue a big four career, I highly recommend to keep up with current affairs and keep up not just what's happening in Australia or what's happening in your hometown, but what's happening globally. Doesn't mean that you have to memorize every news headline around the world every day, but it just means that if you are able to have an app on your phone that gives you daily news updates, or to use things other than social media to get what's happening around the world around you in terms of the business world and in terms of current affairs, that's going to be really helpful because it will train you to always be up to date with what's happening, and that will influence your client work as well. So those
Brilliant.
collection of soft skills are really important, and you can start preparing for them at any point in your university career.
Fantastic. And so, what you've mentioned is brilliant because it gives us a really good focus that we can have when it comes to what to work on when before the application process. But communication skills, as you mentioned, was something that were really important. What are some strategies that you think students can take advantage of to enhance their communication skills, especially when they come from international backgrounds where English may not be their first language?
Yeah, definitely. So apart from, obviously trying to connect with, your classes and your peers and your university, colleagues, as much as you can. There are also, I think, other things that you can do outside of your university study that will also help. For those that are already here based in Australia, I know that it has been a bit more difficult than usual, with the impacts of COVID to connect,
Of course.
on a on a physical level with people outside of university. But try, as Australia opens up, and as virtual opportunities are becoming more and more prevalent. I think that if you can connect, in terms of an extracurricular level to help practice, your English communication skills. So things like taking part-time work, joining clubs and societies, joining like-minded groups, whether it just be social. Some of the best, I've seen in my career, I've been touching base with a lot of international students over my career, and I've noticed, a common ground between the ones that really excel in making themselves a great, part of the Australian community, is those that go out and seek those opportunities outside of their university surrounding. So it may be, taking part-time work, it may be joining, a sporting team or a volunteer club. And it's a really great thing to practice your English, practice, I guess it's really great for community integration. You do feel a bit more comfortable. You are always going to be joining a group with like-minded people, so you have at least one thing in common, even if you don't know anyone. And those, like, I guess, those informal ways are really fantastic ways to practice your English. And also, obviously, the more traditional forms, such as preparation programs and your English test, will give you a really good benchmark of how you go. But also, it's important to keep that in the back of your mind, because those are often quite important components of seeking permanent residency, and seeking further stay in Australia, or coming to Australia. You probably need to prove that proficiency some way or another. So that's also important to look at. But I always find that the more casual, um, ways that you connect with your peers and people in your home country, maybe, others that speak English, or want to practice their English, is a great way to connect as well. So lots of different things that you can do, and I think it's really just a matter of practicing and being brave, and putting yourself out there and say, like, this is where I want to improve. It may not be perfect, I may still be learning, but we're all learning, and that attitude, I think, is really important, because that attitude will set you up for success, even in future endeavors where you may not, be grasping a skill, 100%, but at least you're giving a really good go, and you're putting yourself out there, being vulnerable. It's also what we do in EY as a consultants as well. We may not know all the answers, but we work together, and we collaborate, and we're able to find answers there too.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So we'll take the opportunity now to change tack a little bit and talk about the questions that have been coming through on the chat. So thank you everyone for putting through your questions, and we do have some really good ones. So we'll just put some through to you, Charlene. So Preeti in the audience has asked, how does the opportunity for working for EY change in each state, or is it a national application process and students are expected to move? Are you able to give a short answer for that one?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it is a national process. We make things really streamlined for students. So when you apply to, EY, and you've met all the eligibility requirements, you will be putting forward, one application, and then you choose your preference of city, and then we move your application according to your preferences. So your preferences will include the location of the EY office you would like to join the most, followed by your service line. So you may put, one or two service lines as your first or second preference, and we try to move your application along in a national format with those preferences in mind. They may chop and change towards the end, or you may change your mind and say, actually, I want to, pivot and choose another location or choose another service line because I've learned more about that, and that's probably more aligned to what I want. That's absolutely fine, but you do need to just submit that one application as part of a national application form.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. And do students need to have PR or have applied for PR at the point of application?
Yeah, so this will change from time to time, but currently, as it stands, we don't require students to have PR. We do expect that you are on the pathway to PR. So. Not necessarily on a particular type of PR-led visa, but thinking that if you accept a role at EY, it's with the intention that you are wanting to reside in Australia for a period of time. And yeah, so we don't. I think at the moment we are accepting, like student visas and like post-study work visas. So that's absolutely fine. I won't read through all the eligibility, but definitely those kind of visas is what we're looking for, with the intention that you will be on a pathway to PR soon.
Brilliant, thank you. And so you mentioned IT and accounting roles are currently available for application. So are these the main roles you tend to recruit for traditionally?
Yeah, those are the ones that are seeing the biggest growth in terms of client work, and therefore the demand for consultants in those areas and those backgrounds do increase. So obviously, it goes without saying that technology and I guess technology transformation is really at the heart of many of our clients worldwide, including Australia. So someone with a technology background, it may be IT, cybersecurity, forensics, things like that. That's what we're looking for. Anyone with an IT background is going to be really important, whether it be bachelor's or master's, that meet that criteria. That's definitely something that's on the rise, even pre-COVID, but more so now accelerated by COVID. And then accounting is one of those traditional degrees that are very handy in all different aspects of EY work because of our, I guess, traditional strands of EY being based in accounting and financial services. So those are the two main areas, and they don't just lead to one or two areas. We do have multiple teams that look for those kind of areas. So what we do is as part of our application process, we give you a link that shows you all the different types of teams that we do have within EY Oceania, and then whatever roles are available, you are more than welcome to select them as your first preferences.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I think that sort of leads in really well to the next question, which is the question from Krishma. It says, the Big Four have offices around the world. Can students apply in their home country and look to transfer it to an Australian office if they haven't studied here?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Krishmal. So what we do when we don't have opportunities available for international students is we always ask you to apply in your home country and inquire if they are able to take you as an application. So most of the time it's yes. And then further down the track, let's cross our fingers and hope that borders do, open a little bit more freely, over the next year or so. But definitely it is an opportunity for transferring. So what you would be considered will be like an office transfer. So if borders, I mean now it's really impacted by borders, but if they are lowered or loosened over the next few months, that would be a question of working with your home office and saying that I would like to make the transfer to this particular office in Australia. You don't need to have studied in Australia. It would really just be what we call a lateral hire move, an office transfer. So we definitely do that. We have a lot of I have a lot of my colleagues, particularly in audit, that have done that over the past few years. They start working perhaps in the Singapore or Malaysia office, or an office perhaps in the Philippines, and they apply for an office transfer. We make sure that we are able to support you as best we can. No guarantees, but it's really just about what's available and if the office in Australia is able to support that move. But that's definitely very common, and it's one of the main ways that EY people in other countries are able to continue their work in Australia. So definitely an option.
No, that's brilliant. Yep. That's brilliant. Fantastic. So this next question is from Axel. It says, how strict is the criteria for English language proficiency if students have an uneven points, so meet the requirements in some sections and otherwise meet all other requirements should they still apply. So, yeah, are you able to sort of give a little bit of insight there?
Yep. So the eligibility that we've put on the website is quite strict. You do need to meet everything at the time of application. And I say this because, we don't want students to know that they meet eligibility and then spend all that time and effort applying for something that won't get them anywhere. So make sure that you do meet all eligibility. The English language proficiency is quite strict because it has been mandated by us from the business. So we do check that really carefully. So if you're if you're unsure, you can always reach out to us and ask the question. You can submit the application if you're unsure. However, I know that that's time consuming on your behalf, so we never want to waste people's time. So make sure that you read it carefully. If you're unsure, either reach out to us for the inquiry. If you submit something and you're not sure if you've met it, you can always contact us. So it is quite firm what's on the website. But any questions you have, or if you're just not sure if you meet the eligibility, you can always reach out before you spend the time putting an application, because we understand that it is time consuming to put together job applications. It is, our application form asks a lot of questions, and we do want you to spend time on things that will bear fruit rather than just filling it out for the sake of filling it out.
Yeah, definitely. That actually leans in really well with our sponsor for today. So Pearson PTE, with the discount that they have for their English testing. I mean, it's fantastic to be able to lean on that, knowing that it's going to be so important for your future aspirations. So just another question, is there an online assessment component? Like, do students need to prepare any knowledge in finance or other technical subjects? So that's two. So first and foremost, yes or no, is there an online assessment component?
Yes, there is. So that's a really good question as well. We have actually 2 rounds of online assessment that you could potentially see through. So how it works for our application process is, first step is to meet to meet eligibility, and if you meet it, great, submit your application. Once you submit your application, we have a system that automatically helps us to navigate eligibility requirements. If our teams check out your application and it meets eligibility, you will automatically be sent your first round of online testing, which you should complete within 48 hours. It is a test. It's a multiple choice test, mostly, and maybe some short answers, and it's based around 2 areas. The first is numeracy. So numeracy test. So you might have a bit of simple, maths questions to work through, and also psychometric testing. So testing out whether your character and your background and your the way that you work in teams and things like that, and your innovation is suited to a career in the Big Four. That's an online test that you do. And then once we have your results back, we review them. And if you've passed our thresholds, then we send you the second round of online testing. So this is called the job simulation. And the job simulation is a series of multiple choice, short answer, and also some video responses. And this is for EY Australia. It may change for, EY worldwide, or other global offices. But for EY Australia, it's a series of questions where they are mainly motivational questions. We give you a mini case study that you film and record some of your responses to, and also some client facing questions. So this is really testing you out in a job environment. So how you respond and work with clients, your communication skills, and also your motivation for, your chosen service line preference as well. And then once that second job simulation portal testing is done, we review all of your results. And then from there, we start screening and assessing your whole application to see if you're going to be a good fit for one of our teams. And then we start contacting you and start setting up a time for you to attend our recruitment day, which is a day where you come and do an interview with the service line that is interested in your profile, and also you work through a group activity where you work through a case study and we test out some of your your soft communication skills there as too.
Cool. Yeah, which sounds pretty stock standard for a lot of professional jobs these days. So, nothing too scary, which is good. And just a final question. This question actually comes from both Letitia and Pete. It says, what kind of internships or project experience would be beneficial for applicants to have completed? And is there anything favoured by EY in the application process?
Yeah, fantastic. Those are really, really good questions, and it's the type of questions we always hope that students ask before they apply because it means that you're
Awesome.
on the right track. Yeah, so I just want to say a shout out. They're great questions. So we are looking for the all rounder, and when I say the all rounder, it doesn't mean you have to tick every single box in volunteering and work and university and stuff, but we want people to have really interesting experiences that have led them to develop really great skill sets that our teams will favor. So we're not looking for someone that has the ultimate best grades and does nothing else. Like that's not the type of student we're looking for because it shows us that, if you're not putting time aside for, exploring extracurricular activities or getting some work experience, it's going to be hard for you to try to juggle, your social life with your work life because, at EY, in particular, it's not all about work. We do want you to have a really good balance because you do work hard for your clients, and we want you to maintain that balance and get that balance right at the very start of your career. So, someone that has, I guess, has joined a student society or does sport or does extra things to support their family, whether it be work or helping look after family members, like that's all really important because it shows that you have excellent time management, you prioritize things that are important to you, you're passionate about things, and that really goes far. I know that when we do screen applications and we work with our business stakeholders, they love reading applications from people that show passion in whatever they do. That passion may be coming through with a particular sport or volunteer or community involvement or joining a student society, while maintaining good grades. We accept anything from credit average in Australia. So we're not we love looking at high achieving students, but for us, high achieving doesn't necessarily mean academically only. It means that you've had a really great start to having a balance in good life experience. So that's kind of the type of student we're looking for. Someone that can demonstrate that they've picked up all these soft skill sets and technical skill sets in a range of different things because the reality is that when you are working with clients, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different types of clients, and you're not going to have an advantage over you may have an advantage over one particular industry because you enjoy it, you love it, but at the end of the day we have all sorts of clients coming to us, and we need flexible workers and people that are willing to put in the effort to get to know this client and to get to know creative solutions that they can present to them as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. And yeah, fantastic advice. And thank you so much, Charlene, for going through all that with us. It's very valuable insights. And I hope that all the audience got as much out of it as possible. We have covered a lot. So for everyone that's watching, there is a recording afterwards. So you will be able to review this at your own pace. But this conversation right now with Charlene, I think, has been incredibly valuable. So thank you so much for your time.
No worries. And if you guys like, I have just dropped in here. I hope everyone can see it, but I have just dropped in here, a link to where you can kind of find this application information I was referring to. Like I said, we do have applications open until tomorrow for very particular roles we're still looking for. But when if you're looking for the next big recruitment drive or applications opening, they usually do open in February. So I would say at the middle to end of January, check back on this exact website and see what opportunities are available. And hopefully, we will be continuing to open up to international students. Nothing's been confirmed yet because we are still working through our current campaign, but just keep an eye on this. And same like the other big four, try to find the equivalent of this type of web page because that's going to have all your information there. And everyone's different. And yeah, just don't assume that because you've come on, an info session today that it's going to be the same for everyone. Make sure you do your research. And yeah, I'm just wishing everyone all the best. And I hope that this information I've provided is helpful and helps you kind of, navigate your applications for the Big Four. Speaking as someone that's been with the Big Four this year, I truly enjoy my time. It's one of my most rewarding careers I've had so far. I love my teams. I love the work we do. It's very inspirational to see all the beautiful teams come together and do some really amazing work. whether it be, climate action change or sustainability or, technology, things like that. It's been really, really great to see, all this thriving. So yeah, so for someone that's quite relatively new to professional services, I've really enjoyed my time, and hoping that we can, we can see more people apply for these really cool opportunities in the future.
Brilliant, awesome. And thank you so much again. We really do appreciate that. Thanks, Arlene. So
Yeah,
now
no
we'll
worries. Thanks,
be
guys.
Thank you. So now we'll be moving on to Isu. So we caught up earlier this week with Isu to chat about her experience as an international student now working at PwC. So now we'd love to be able to find out a little bit more in regards to those insights.
My name is Yi. So I studied a Bachelor of Commerce and IT degree at Monash University. So in terms of why I came to Australia for a bachelor degree is because I wanted to have a better career perspective, and I also wanted to experience different culture. And thirdly, I also want to improve my English because my English was very broken at the time. In terms of my experience at uni, I think my experience has been very fulfillment looking back. I did a lot of different things. I volunteered, I did part-time job, and I also interned at a top retail company in Australia. So it's a lot of different experience, and it was very challenging at the beginning. I had faced many challenges such as the language barrier or cultural difficulty, but I was able to manage it and manage through and build my way through there. As part of the industry-based learning program offered at Monash University, they invite industry speakers to share a bit more about the industry and also share about their company. So one of the speakers are from PwC, and they shared a little bit more about PwC and also cybersecurity. So when I was studying, because I didn't study a cybersecurity degree, I didn't consider cyber as a career option. But after their webinar, I noticed that there is actually opportunities in cyber that I can get into. So after the session that I stay connected with them on LinkedIn, and when there is an opportunity came out, they shared this opportunity on LinkedIn. I was able to message them and saying that, hi, would you like to introduce me a little bit more about the opportunity? And then I applied, and through the process, and I did the interview. Then I was able to get into PwC as a cybersecurity analyst. So digital identity is basically about identity and access management. So in a very simple way, imagine is for us, each of us are identity in the real world, but in the computer world or virtual world, we also create a virtual identity. So those might include information such as who we are. So information can probably include our date of birth, our gender, or gender, and those information. And so access is about information or application we can access in a company. So such as a junior employee in IT, so you wouldn't be able to access information about financial data because that data doesn't require to help you to complete your job. So you can probably access information about their development process or the application they use, but rather than information that doesn't require for your job. So that is digital identity. My experience has been very rewarding and very positive because you are helping the clients to solve a very complex and important questions, and it has been really a good learning opportunities as well because you will be able to work with different clients and to know different industries and how different companies are doing things. There has been a very good learning opportunities there. So my advice is to be proactive, always ask for opportunities and don't wait for opportunities come. So you can always reach out to people on LinkedIn or going to networking events, or you can ask even your university professor if they have any connection or if they have any previous students who have who are working in one of the big four or in a team that you are interested. And secondly, it's also take actions and be determined. If you really want something, go for it. I always believe if there is a will, there is a way. So there is nothing can prevent you to from achieving your goal. Also, there's a lot of people around that can help you to achieve your goal. If joining one of the big four is your goal, then I think there's a lot of things you can do. You can search for people on LinkedIn and have a coffee catch up, even online or in person, and to get to know about their job, their day-to-day activities and their experience in applying for jobs and what other things they have done before they got the job. So a lot of things we can do to get the job at one of the big four if that's your goal. So in terms of the specific skills, one of the things I would say is to always think about how you can tell the story. I noticed that I tend to do a lot of things, but there is one part is missing, that is to tell the story about what you did and how you did it and what was the result. So after you have complete one of the small project or completed one of the small things, you can always think back. Okay, so this is.
Thank you so much, Yisu, for being able to give us these fantastic insights. And we hope that you as a student were able to get a little bit out of that as well. So now we'd like to move on to have a chat to AIMET Education. So this is the visa portion, which I'm sure many of you are very interested in finding out a little bit more about. So we'd like to introduce Kiko to jump on board and just present on the PSW visa. Thanks, Kiko.
Thank you, Boris. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kiko, and I'm from AIMET Education. I'm a senior counselor and also the manager of AIMET Brisbane office. Today, I'm here with my colleague, Ellie. You can't see her, but she's hiding in the back, and she will be helping me with all the Q&As. So firstly, I would like to thank you, thanks Insider Guide, for inviting us to be here and share this helpful information with all of the international students. And then, starting first, I will let you know who are we and what we do. So, like I mentioned, I'm from AIMET Education, and then we're the top performing student agency in Australia since 1991. And we have been established for 30 years, and we have provided our service to more than 80,000 students around the world. We're operating in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Tasmania, and also other cities worldwide. And at AIMET, all of our offices are 100% owned and directly managed to ensure top service and quality. We also represent more than 120 Australian universities and institutions, and we're formal representative for 5 out of 8 Group of 8 universities, and we're aiming to confirm all of the Group of 8 by 2025. And here you can see that we have offices globally. Like I mentioned, in Australia, we have 5 branches, and we have 1 in Taiwan, 1 in the UK, and the rest of it in around the world. So today, our focus is to provide you with the information of the work visa. And then there are different options for the work visa. It includes 3 different streams. The first one is the post-study work stream. The second one is the second post-study work stream, which is you can say it's an extension for the first PSW visa. And then the last one is the graduate work stream, that for those students who aren't eligible to apply for the PSW visa. So first, we're going to talk about the PSW stream. This is the most common work visa that we usually talk about, and it's called PSW. It's the shortcut for post-study work. And the duration is usually 2 to 4 years, depending on your study level. But there's an exception for the Hong Kong and British national overseas passport holders, which is 5 years duration for them. And from our slide, you can see that if you're holding a bachelor degree, including honors degree, or master by coursework, you'll be eligible to get the 2 years PSW visa. If you study master by research, you'll get 3 years. If you study doctorate, which is PhD, you will get 4 years. And for those who's holding Hong Kong and BNO passport, they will have 5 years in duration. And the cost for the PSW visa is from 1,680 if you're applying by yourself. And then the second post-study work stream is kind of like an extension, and it will allow you to stay extra time in Australia for between 1 and 2 years, depending on your study location. So if you have studied in a Category 2 level, Category 2 area, you will be eligible to apply extra 1 year. And if you study and live in a Category 3 area, you will be eligible to apply for a 2 years extension. So what does it mean? Category 2 refers to cities and major regional centers of Perth, Adelaide, the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Canberra, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, Wollongong, Illawarra, Geelong, and Hobart. And students who have studied and live here for their study duration will have the opportunity to apply for extra 1 year of the PSW visa. And students who have studied in Category 3, which is regional centers and other regional areas, will have benefits of applying for extra 2 years. And if you're not sure, if you're studying in the Gold Coast or somewhere else and you're not sure, if I can apply for the extra 1 or 2 years, simply just come to us and we can provide you with advice and assist planning your future pathway. And the cost for the second PSW visa is from $660 if you're applying by yourself. The third one that I'm going to talk about is the graduate work stream. And this one is for students that got their first student visa granted before 5th of November 2011, or who have studied vocational certificates and diplomas. And the duration is usually 18 months, but the exception also applies to Hong Kong and BNO passport holders. They will get up to 5 years for this graduate work stream. And the cost is the same as the first PSW visa, which is from 1,680 if you're applying by yourself. And then for all the 4A5 streams, you can include your partner and dependent children in your visa application. But please note, what I'm going to say is very, very important. 4A5 is only granted once in your lifetime. So make sure that you lodge it very carefully. It would be a great idea if you consult with an agent before making a decision, and feel free to come to us, and our professional team is always here to help. Okay, so once you apply for your 4A5 visa, what can you do? So basically, you can live, study, and work in Australia temporarily after you have finished your studies. For example, like work in the Big Four, you need a visa to do that, right? And then you can also travel in and out of Australia while the visa is valid. And very importantly, you can build up your points for future migration. For example, you can undertake PY, Professional Year Program, or undertake CCL test or PTE test. And all of these three different pathway or three different methods can help you to build up your points. So I'm going to start with PY. PY stands for Professional Year. It's a professional development program combining formal learning and an Australian internship placement. This program will give international graduates the skills to gain employment and also to excel in their chosen field. And successful completion provides 5 points towards migration. So students with accounting, IT, engineering discipline, they can enroll for the PY programs. And typically a PY program includes 32 weeks of coursework, and it will cover Australia work practice, work health safety, business communication, job search skills, and simulated workplace training. And then after that, you also have a 12-week internship to prepare you for the real world. And for CCL, it stands for Credentialed Community Language. So successfully passing the CCL test provides 5 points towards your migration. And it would be a good idea to prepare well for the CCL test because it's not cheap at all. One test will cost you $800. So we partner with industry-leading institutes that provides training and also prepping for the CCL test. And feel free to come to us if you're thinking of taking the CCL test. And lastly, the PTE. So obtaining high PTE or English result will also contribute to your migration points. As you can see from my slide, if you can get 65 for each of the 4 test components, which is listening, speaking, reading, and writing, you will get 10 points, and that's equivalent to proficient English. And if you can get 79 for each of the 4 test components, you will be able to claim 20 points because then you meet the requirement of superior English. So yeah, like Charlene mentioned before, as international students, it's very important to improve your English because it's not just helping you building up your points in migration, but it's also helping you to find a good job in Australia. And we have professional and experienced team of counselors and who can provide advice for any international students who have any questions. So if we want to apply for the PSW visa, what are the requirements? I'm going to touch on the basic eligibility, academic requirement, the Australian study requirement, English, health insurance, and then additional requirements if you're applying for the second PSW visa. So basically, you must be under 50 years of age. And then very importantly, you need to apply for and be granted your first student visa on or after 5th of November, 2011. That's a very important date. If you're not sure, simply come to us and we can help you to find it out. And then you need to hold an eligible visa and you need to have held a student visa in the last 6 months. And also you need to study in a CRICOS register course, and you need to arrange health insurance for all the applicants. And then you need to provide evidence that you have applied for an AFP check when you apply. Also, you need to meet the English requirement when you apply. And for the academic requirement, you must have completed an eligible degree. And this means you either completed a bachelor degree or bachelor honors degree, master's by coursework degree, master extended degree, master by research, or a doctorate degree. If you have studied, for example, a diploma, and it's a standalone diploma or trade qualification, you're not eligible to be granted in the work visa in this particular stream, which is PSW stream. And then apart from the academic requirement, you also need to meet the Australian study requirement. And it means that if you have completed at least one degree, diploma or trade qualification, and also it's a CRICOS register course, and you have successfully completed all the course requirements, the study was in English, and you completed your course as a result of at least 2 academic years, which is equivalent to 92 weeks, and you completed your course in Australia in not less than 16 calendar months, and you have got an Australian study visa that allow you to study. But please note, we all know that COVID-19 has hit everyone pretty bad, and student visa holders affected by the COVID-19 travel restrictions can actually count their online study towards the Australian study requirement. But given that the whole study duration is covered by a student visa. And apart from the academic and Australia study requirement, also you need to satisfy the English requirement before applying for the 485 visa. So if you achieve overall 50 and with a minimum score of 36 in a PTE test, then you have satisfied the English requirement. It's also equivalent to IELTS overall of 6, no band less than 5, and TOEFL overall 64, no band less than 4 for listening and reading, and no band less than 14 for writing and speaking. But according to our feedback from students, the PTE is usually easier than IELTS. Also, the test result comes back quicker. So we usually recommend students to take PTE. And PTE is accepted by Australia, New Zealand, and UK. It's also trusted by over 3,000 universities and colleges. And also the result comes back pretty quick, usually in 48 hours, which is 2 days. To apply for the 485 visa, you also need a health insurance for the whole duration of the stay to be granted this visa. And that's something definitely we can help you with. So we can arrange and let you know what kind of health insurance is adequate for anyone who would like to apply for the 485 visa. And we partner with Allianz. They're a global insurance company that can be trusted. So for those who are already holding a PSW visa and wonder if they are eligible to apply for additional second post-study work visa, there are additional requirements. So you must hold a graduate visa in the PSW stream as the main applicant. And also you have completed your CRECOS register course in the regional area. And that led to the grant of your first PSW visa. And you also need to have lived in the eligible regional area for at least 2 years before applying for the second PSW visa. Okay, so there might be some students that's not eligible for the PSW visa. Don't worry, you still have an alternative, although it has a bit more requirements compared to the PSW streams. So I'm going to touch on the requirements of the graduate work visa stream. So I have put those different or extra requirement in red. So all the other basic eligibility remains the same, but what's different is that you need to have an occupation relevant to you need to have a qualification relevant to an occupation on the skilled occupation list. And also, before you apply, you need to have applied for a skill assessment in your nominated occupation on the skilled occupation list. So that's something that's different with PSW. And I hope these information that we provided is helpful for all of you that's attending today. And if you have any questions, or you probably have already been do so, leave it under the Q&A box. And we're trying our best to answer all of the questions. I know Ellie must be busy answering those questions because I can hear her typing. And then if there's any questions that we won't be able to answer at this very moment, we aim to redirect those questions to someone in our team that can answer it. And here is our contact info. We have a hotline, 1-800-735-357. If you're in Australia, you can simply call us on this number. Our email address is education@amat.com.au. And also feel free to visit our website, www.amat.com.au. And I hope the information I shared today will be helpful for you guys. And don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions regarding your education or your visa options in Australia. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Kiko. And we do really appreciate those thorough slides. Ellie has been answering a lot of questions in the chat. We can see her definitely there, and thank you so much for that. But we do have one question that we might like to ask of you directly, if that's okay. And that comes from Manny and it
Yes,
says,
sure.
well, it's actually it's one question, but I'll split it in two. So it says, can you please elaborate a little bit more on what the Big Four expects when they say that you're on track to PR? Like, what's acceptable?
Sorry, Boris, I don't think I have understand the question like completely, because
So,
I thought
from my understanding, so it says, can you please elaborate on what the Big Four expects that we are on track on PR? So, like, how far along in the process would it be necessary to be before putting through an application and being considered?
Okay, get it. So I guess this student is asking like what are the requirements for applying for PR, and also like the time frame if like when they will be invited as PR. If I that's my understanding of this question, and I will share a bit of my like insight. So this current visa that we're talking about, the PSW visa, it's a visa that's allowing you to stay in Australia after you study, and also it's a chance for you to build up points. And then getting PR, there are different pathways and streams. A lot of international students, they apply for PR by the independent skill, the skill independent stream, which is the 1A9, subclass 1A9 visa. And then if they are using this pathway to apply, then they need to build up points to be eligible, because the Department of Home Affairs, they require a minimum of 65 points to be eligible to submit the EOI, and the EOI stands for expression of interest. So that's the reason that why I was talking about that 485 visa is a good visa to help you build up your points, because the points is what you needed. And then it's very competitive, because everyone that's eligible can submit an EOI, and then there will be a pool, and that's full of all the applicants. So all the eligible applicants, for example, if they have 65 points or 70 or even high points like 100, they will all be sitting in this pool. And then the Department of Home Affairs, they will invite the highest point. So the higher points that you got, the better chances that you got.
Okay, great. No, and I think that answers really well the second part of the question, which talks about visa pathways. So we'll leave it there. But Valeria asks, how long do we have to wait to start the post-study work process once we have graduated? Are you able to elaborate on that, please?
Yes, definitely. So that's a very good question. And that's also something I didn't, I forgot to put into my slides. So
it's a
there's
lot
a
of
timeline. Yes, it is. There's a timeline that all the international students should be very careful and bear in mind. It's 6 months. So once you graduate, for example, now is November, and it is the final season where all the students are taking their final exams, and probably at the end of November they will get their results released and they will graduate. Once you graduate, usually it's the result release date. For example, let's say 25th of November, you got your result, and congratulations, you have all passed for your final semester. And that usually will be your completion date. And please remember to apply for your 485 visas within 6 months after your completion date. And in the example I provided, that will be 6 months after 25th of November. But it can be different for everyone. So check with your university and make sure that you're aware of that date.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you so much for elaborating on that, Kiko, and we thank you so much for your presentation, and as well Ellie in the background who's been trying to help out with some answers there. Now that brings us to the end of today's webinar. We've covered a lot of information, but we'll send out a recording so that you can catch up on everything in your own time. You can pause it, write notes, and please make sure that you also share it with your friends. We understand that international students are always asking each other questions, not entirely sure where to go. This recording has really helped to give a lot of useful advice. So please make sure it gets out there. And as Amy has mentioned, you always feel free to reach out to them with visa questions that are specific to you, knowing that each circumstance can be quite different. So it will help to get that advice. Now, next week's webinar with Insider Guides is all about living and studying in Perth in Western Australia. So if you are interested in living in Australia's sunniest capital, we'd love to be able to share some insights with that. So we invite you all along to our next webinar. And we'd like to thank again all our panelists, the excellent discussion that we've had with Charlene and the presentation with Kiko and her team. And don't forget about the bonus from PTE. The link is in the chat. Again, we've spoken a little bit about the proficiency in English language. The 15% off discount is such a fantastic way to be able to help with that. So please make sure that you take advantage of it. Thank you. Keep in touch with Insider Guides and happy Diwali. Thank you all again. Bye for now.
Thank you, Boris. Bye, everyone.